Agud Voch Rabboisai. Lili Nishmasi Mimirasi Rusbas Mordechai. The Gadol Hador is Nifter, and we're in Avelis right now. All Klal Yisrael is in Avelis. So I'm not going to read emails today. I'm not going to read emails tomorrow. But I was a little worried that the Olam, some of them are going to be very happy and it's going to do the opposite effect. So I will read one email that has to do with the Gadol Hador. Dear Aveli, I hope this finds you well. I'm but a simple Yid and a follower of Yeshua for over a year. This is from Shimon Walgalenter from Lakewood, New York. I know that so many of us are struggling with what to do and how to internalize the passing of the Gadol Hador of Chaim Lewitan, zechus tzadik levracha. It's hard to write the word zechus tzadik levracha. Might I make a simple suggestion to all the members of MDY, and I think it's truly an appropriate tribute to this Torah giant. Chazal say that when a Gadol passes away, all his Torah is up for grabs, so to speak, and we need to increase our portion of Torah learning. After being so inspired by the Siyum and the impact MDY had so many, might I share a message with all of MDY? Please bring one person to the shir. Eli Nishmas Reb Chaim zechus tzadik levracha. What better way can there be to pay tribute to the Sarah Torah than to help change another person's life and increase Torah learning as well? It's simple too. I brought several people to the shir simply by texting friends and family, join dafyomi.com and opening a dialogue for them. It's not commercializing. This is MS. This is true. I really appreciate the change you made in my life, and I hope this message can help others as well. Shimon Walgalenter, Lakewood, New York. It says New York actually, but Lakewood is New Jersey. Here it is, New York. Yeah, whatever, tri-state, whatever you want to call it. I had the zechus of seeing Reb Chaim Kanievsky as a child. Reb Chaim Kanievsky was a gadol for 40 years at least. Since I'm a kid, he was a gadol. This gadol that pop up later on in life, whatever, he was a gadol since I can remember. I had the zechus of seeing him walk around the Bnei Brak in the streets. When I learned in Panovich Yeshiva Ktana, he came to Hatzlachah from the backyard of the Yeshiva Ktana over there, from the eucalyptus trees. There's a famous picture of him laying down on the ground on those trees. That's where it was, right there in the backyard. I remember many, many different things. I've seen him hundreds of times, and it's a tremendous, tremendous loss for everybody in this room. Tremendous loss for Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael will not be the same. The Koilel is sponsored by Mr. Anonymous, Lil Nishmas Chaya Bas Yosef. Paras HaChodesh Shauly Rosenfeld, in memory of my dear friend Yehuda Augenbaum. Paras HaChodesh by the Lock Lebovic families, Lakewood, as a zechus for our families. Paras HaChodesh, Jonathan Davydov, for the Hatzlachah of the Davydov family. Paras HaChodesh, various friends and family, Refuah Shelima for Yaakov Yehuda ben Gittel. Refuah Shelima for Yehuda Aryeh ben Miriam, Chaim Lewitan. It's my Mechutan Yehuda Hershkovitz. So Chaim Lewitan is sponsoring for Refuah Shelima for Yehuda Aryeh ben Miriam. Yishkoyach. Okay, Rabbi Isai. Oh, let me see if I don't go to the screen yet, because I forgot to print this, and I wanted to show the Olam this thing right over here. Now you can go to the screen. I know it's on in Word, but I just figured out today's daf. It's an amazing daf, and as so many other dafim, we're going to get to learn all these different musagim. You could see how this is Motzei Shabbos, last minute without any color or anything. We're going to learn about Tsaras Machzer Grushasai, about Miyun, about Maimer. Does anybody know what Miyun is in this room? Everybody knows what Miyun is because we discussed it. What about Maimer? Does anybody know what Maimer means? Yosef, what does Maimer mean? So we're going to see a little bit about Maimer. Yisoyme b'chayav. Does anybody know that? It's another Yisoy we're going to be learning about. Yisoyme b'chayav. Anybody? We discussed it. What is it?
It's when you give your daughter away and then she doesn't hear, and now it's no longer able to give her away, but the brother or the mother could give her away.
Even the father gave away, but very good. Very, very good. What's your name again? Shmuel Israeli from? Flatbush. Leaving us on Tuesday. Came here for Chassan and is here every day. Even the day after his son? Daughter's Chasana. So he said that Yisayim B'chayav means that a father gives away, marries off his daughter, a young daughter, let's say a 10-year-old, and she gets divorced. So now he no longer is able to marry her off, but he marries her off. That marriage is not a very strong marriage. It's not a deraisa like the first marriage. It's Yisayim B'chayav. And then we have Tsaras Eilinus. It's as if she's B'chayav. Her father's alive, and it's as if she's an orphan when her father's still alive, because her father cannot give her away any longer like he was able to before. It's just a way to say it. And Tsaras Eilinus, we're going to see also, what's an Eilinus? We know an Eilinus, it's a woman who can't bear children, and it's tsar to that woman. So now, we are holding Daf Aleph Amud Beis. We're mamish in the middle of Masechtas Yevamos. I know a lot of people are still struggling, but we're becoming more and more familiar as the days go on. We are holding by Tashma. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 lines from the bottom of Yud Aleph Amud Beis. We're in the middle of a Shaila. What happens? Now we could go. Let's see if I could get there easily. Probably not. Here. Go to the slideshow. Here. You got it, Gary? Okay. Soras. Oh no. What happened? Soras Machzir Grushasa. So we had this case the other day. Let's talk about it again. You have Ruvain, Shimon, and a plumber. So Ruvain marries a woman, and then he divorces the woman, and in step 2 comes along the plumber from Muncie and marries her. At this point, Ruvain can no longer marry his ex. If the plumber didn't marry her, it's a mitzvah to be machzik rishasa, but since somebody else married her, he can no longer. But he goes ahead and he marries her anyway. So you see in step 3, Ruvain remarries her, plus he has another wife. And then Ruvain is bye-bye. So they both fall down to Shimon. Lucky Shimon. But Shimon is the Shiloh. What happens here? What happens to the tzara, to the Yerushalmi lady? Could Shimon be miyavim her? So Tashma. Hamachzir Grushasei Mishanises. If Ruvain went ahead and he remarried his ex after she married the plumber, step 3, he v'tzarasa chayletzes. Shimon must perform chalitza on 2 women. Does that make any sense? No. He v'tzarasa salkadaitach. A man has to perform chalitza twice. He performed chalitza once, and that's enough for all the women. Why does he have to do it twice? Elaima, we must revise it a little bit. We got to tune up the brisa, fix it up. Elaima, oihi oitzarasa. One of them, either the Berka lady or the Yerushalmi lady gets chalitza. Now, what do you see from here? This answers the question. You see that Shimon cannot be miyabim the Yerushalmi lady. What could he do? Chalitza. It says mefurish. He could either give her chalitza or give the other one chalitza. But it doesn't mention anything about yibum, so that answers our question, l'chayra. No yibum, even for the tzara. Says Gemara, Valav, towards the Gematartzis law, you already had to fix up the brisa the way you wanted to. So since it's a brisa that's meshubash, it has issues, so they'll just fix it the way you wanted. No raya. Maybe you have to stick in the word misyabemis also, and therefore we don't have a raya that there's no yibum. Perhaps there is yibum. Rabbi Yochanan had a question. According to Chachamim, amachzik rishasai mishenises tzarasamau. Okay, does that sound familiar? That's the exact case we're talking about on the screen. After he divorced his wife, somebody else married her, and after somebody else married her, he either divorced her or died. The first guy, Reuven, goes ahead and marries her. Tzarasa Mao. What about the Yerushalmi lady? Why are you asking about the Tsar, the Yerushalmi lady? What about the Berka lady? Could Shimon marry Bimiyab the Berka lady? Says the Gemara, that wasn't a question. I'm going to say Kavachomer, check this out here. It's the same exact thing, but I'm just showing you how the Kavachomer works. Is very simple. In step 1, when Reuven is married to Berka lady, is he allowed to be married to her? Yeah, it's his wife. So there was a point in time when it was mutter, she was mutter to him. At that point in time, was Shimon allowed to marry her? No, it's his brother's wife. And even if his brother had children, no. So at that point, Shimon can never marry her. So what are you telling me? That after Reuven divorced her and the plumber married her and then Reuven married her illegally, you want Shimon to be able to marry her? Even Reuven wasn't able to marry her. He married her illegally. Not only that, and I'll stick in a little bit of a knetch here. Everything. Well, there's another problem. Just to add a little bit, my Chavrus didn't like it, but I think it's emes, so I'm going to say it. The whole point of Yibum is to continue the shame of the brother. But the brother had no business marrying her. So what's Shimon have to do over here? Why should he be mutter to be miyabim her? He's not doing anything good here. Reuven shouldn't have been married to Berkeley to begin with. Fine. But there's a kavachaymer. B'mutter la surah. She was once upon a time mutter to Reuven, and today she's asur. So Shimon, who never had anything to do with her and was never able to marry her, today all of a sudden she should become mutter to him. So the whole question is only the Yerushalmi lady, not Berka. Does the kavachaymer that we have here, that Shimon has no business with the original woman, with Berka lady, is it strong enough also to push off the tzara, the Yerushalmi lady? So now we have a little bit of a different way to look at it. Mamish fakert, that was. A question, same question. His question was on the grusha, on the Berka lady. So Rabami says, and what about the tzara? Before we said, could he marry the tzara? And we asked the question, and what about the original? Now the question is on the original, and what about the tzara? And the svaras are going to be the same, basically. That was pashut. In other words, he takes the position that the kavachaymer is strong enough to say, look, Berka lady is asur, so Berka lady should remain asur. But it's not strong enough to do anything to her co-wife, to the tzara. And then Mela, Shimon can marry the tzara. But what was my question? He go for my. What about Berka lady? She was not supposed to be married to Reuven at this point, but he married her anyways. And now Reuven dies and she falls to Shimon for Yibum. Does Shimon do Yibum or not? Top of Yud Beis Amud Aleph. Amalei Tinisua. And from here, Aboisai, we have 17 lines of freebie. Meaning, we learned this already on Amud Beis. We just learned the piece right now, and now we're going to fly. Well, not mamish. Pretend it's Amud Beis now. If a person has two women fall to him to Yibum, who should he do Yibum to? One is kosher, one is pasul. He should do chalitza to the one that's pasul. And if he wants to marry one, he should be miyam the kosher. Mike share my psul. What does it mean? If you're talking about like for kahuna, look at the yavam. Who cares if she is roi for a kohen, not roi for a kohen? At the end of the day, for him she's roi, not roi. Let him do chalitza, whoever he wants. What does it mean? It's puzzle to him. He's not a kohen. So who's puzzled him? We're talking about our exact case that we're wondering. His brother did something illegal. He married his divorced, his ex. And it says that if his brother's ex falls to him to Yibum, and his brother's also married to another woman, he should perform Yibum to the kosher one, not to the puzzle one. So that solves a lot of our problems here. Says Gemara, as we learned yesterday, like Sher Lama Psula Alma, we're talking about she's roi for a kohen, not roi for a kohen. And you ask me, what's the difference? Who is chayletz to? What's the difference? Let him do whatever he wants. You should do Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef. Kanchan and Rebbe said, do not spill out water when other people need a drink. In other words, the Gemara is teaching us a valuable lesson that it's called what? Be considerate. Be considerate to other human beings. Don't be selfish. If you have something that somebody else could use, give it to them. Don't throw it out. Be considerate. Stop thinking, because we're talking about Yibum here. A guy goes out in a shidduch. The girl's not royal for him. Whatever. They break up. I don't know what. Read it to somebody else. Be considerate. Think about other human beings. Be considerate. So, Toshma. Yes, so again, so Rebbe's saying, why do perform chalitza to a woman and now she's in the market of shidduchim and she cannot marry all the kohanim in the world? Think a little bit. Think before you do something. Yes, for you, it doesn't make a difference who you're going to do chalitza, but make a cheshbon. Start, whatever you do, think about the zulas, think about the other person. How is it going to affect society, what you do? It's going to have an effect. It's going to make other people not be able to marry her. She wants to marry a kohen, now she can't marry a kohen. Be nice to her. Do chalitza to the one that's already puzzled. Toshma. Says, we had this a second ago. Mamish, word for word. If somebody remarries his ex and he dies, so both women fall to Shimon, what does he do? He has to perform chalitza on both. As the Gemara, we never heard of such a thing, a case that you have to do chalitza to two women. We have to fix it a little bit and say you can do chalitza to the other one. But it says that there's no yibum for the tzara. Once you already answer and you already fix it up, end of the freebie. Omar Ravlili Bar Memel. Omar Mar Ukva Omar Shmuel. Soras Mima Enes Asuro. Oh, new case. Here we go. Look at the screen for a second. So we have a new character for today. It's a young girl. She's under 12 years old. She has a knapsack. She's wearing her school clothes. And her mother married her off. Okay? She's not married a Deraisadika Nisuin. Her brother married her off because now, in order for her not to be hefker, she doesn't have a father to put in her place, to be mechanacher, they decided they can't control her now. The man of the house is gone. Let her be married to a man. Okay? Acceptable in those days. All she needs to do, we care about her, all she needs to do is say in front of two witnesses, I'm out of here. I understand that even today, that's how it is by the Muslims. They say a lashon, there's no get. They say a certain line and bye-bye. No? Yes? One word. Three times. Three times they're out. We have to ask the local guy. What? Okay. Anyway, kapara alecha, and she's gone. The guy's a little drunk. He says one word. That's why we have a get. So you have to go to the cipher, and it takes a whole thing and a process. And you have to know how to write it. It's 12 lines, and by the time that we'll learn in Gittel eventually within the year. How long is it going to take us to finish all of Seder Nashim? A year and 7 months. Unbelievable accomplishment. No, you can say I finished all of Seder Nashim in 1 year and 7 months. So Mimanes, here we're learning Yisoidis today. Mion, this girl, all she has to do is Mimain. I don't want to be married to you. Finished. What does it do? What does Mion do? It retroactively removes the Kiddushin. She was never married to Reuven. Here in this picture, she's married to Reuven. Now, Reuven is married to two women. He's married to this youngster, and he's married to Leah. So what's Leah called in this case? Sarah Mimanis. She's the Sarah of the one who's Mimain. Amazing chiddush, says the Gemara. Says Shmuel, Sarah's Mimanis Asura. The Tzara who falls to Shimon, Asur. Now, who made Mion here? We have to understand what's going on here. When she was married to Reuven, she didn't take the opportunity to say, Machalach, whatever the words are, I don't want to be married to you. She did it after Reuven died, and she fell to Shimon. So let's see the Gemara. Leman. Who is she also to? Ilay Melachim. You see the green line. There's two brothers waiting over there. Levi and Yehuda. Is the Tzara, Leah, also to the two brothers? Hashli hi gufa. Let me turn on laser. Oilan likes laser. Okay. She did miyun to this guy. Okay, just as the example here. This was her husband, Ruvain, and she did miyun. All she has to do is miyun to one guy, and she goes bye-bye. It's as if she was never married to Ruvain after she does miyun. Retroactive. So the Gemara says, but the tzara, this lady, Leah, cannot marry either him or she can't marry him. What are we talking about? Says Gemara, what, she can't marry brothers? Hashli gufa sharia. The memenes, the girl herself, could marry the other brothers. The only one she can't marry is the one she did miyun to, the one she said, I don't want to be married to. If she did miyun in Shemain, right over here she did miyun to this guy, she's mutter in Levi and Yehuda. Why? Why is she mutter? She was never married. Very good. The Ilam is holding. I'm talking about the teenagers over here. They're the ones that answer. What's your name, Tzaddik? From? Bet Shemesh. What yeshiva? Am I allowed to say? What? Mesifta. Way to go, Mesifta. Okay. The kid behind you is going to kick you now because he's from Yehuda. Okay. I mean, if the girl herself, who we consider not married at all, she can marry brothers. So of course the tzara, Leah, she's completely not related over here to the whole situation. Of course she should be able to marry these guys. Okay, so we have to flip it around. It means that Mrs. Leah, the Yerushalmi lady, the sister of Yerushalmi lady, she cannot marry Shimon. Why can't she marry Shimon? Because her tzara, Mrs. Mimaenes, did miyun. And she's asur, so both are asur. Ask the Gemara, wait a minute. But let's understand the logic over here. But you told me that the little girls can marry the brothers. Why? Because they said from Sifta that she was never married at all. She's not even related over here. Because the brothers never did any meal with her. They had nothing to do with her, so she can marry them. So the tzara never did anything to Shimon. Why is there a problem between tzara and Shimon? There's nothing going on here between them. Says Gemara, next slide. All I switched here is I added the word bitoy. Now, basically, Ruvain married his niece. Is it allowed to marry a niece? Yes. Ruvain dies. And the girl, the niece, falls to her own father. And since she got married when she was a youngster, she can perform miyun, if she wants to her own father. What's the question? The obvious question. How in the world could she do miyun if the father's still alive? If the father is alive, that's a real kiddushin. A father can marry off his daughter and she cannot do miyun. The only time a little girl can do miyun is when her brother marries, when her mother marries her off. So what's the answer? That's what he said. I forgot his name already. That there's something called Yisoima Bechayav. It is possible. This is a crazy story, boys. I know a lot of people are like, what is going on here? She's 10 years old. She had her second marriage. And not only her second marriage, but her husband already died. And now she has to deal with a chalitza and a yibum from her uncle, from her own father. Now she falls to yibum. It's not your vibe. Obviously, this never happened. This whole Masechta is a theoretical thing. It's not like we're in Iowa over here and the crazy things are happening. It's theoretical, okay? Theoretical. Calm down, everybody. Calm down. I understand. It's hard on the ears, but it's a shaila and halacha. What happens? It's a crazy situation. The father marries off his 10-year-old twice. First time, I don't know what happened to the husband. Second time, the guy dies. It happens to be her own uncle that she's married to. She falls down to her father. Now, she could be mimayin her father, and she's mimayin. She says, I don't want to be married to you. Now, people are going to say that in this case, Shimon, go back to the screen for a second. Shimon can marry Leah. Why? Because his daughter never felt him. She was never married to Reuven. The niece was never married to her uncle. Why? Because the niece said, I don't want to be married to you, Tati. And Memela, the whole marriage to begin with fell apart. And Memela, Shimon can marry the tzara. No. In this case, everybody agrees Shimon cannot marry the tzara. Why? That we'll see in a second. Because it looks, there's a lot of looks. It looks to somebody from the side, it looks like his daughter felt him liibum, and it looks like he's marrying a tzara. We don't want people to start talking. Memela, Shimon can never marry the tzara. So since Shimon can't marry tzara, it's almost like Xer, the Rishonim ask. So Memela, in this case also, which is the same exact case, but it's not his daughter, we say that the tzara is illegal. Shimon, don't marry the tzara. But Mrs. Tzara, Leah, can marry the brothers. That's not a problem. Why? Because Memanis was never married to begin with. Okay, weiter. A lot of information, a lot of new concepts that we're not familiar with, they'll all come together. What is she also? They were never married. Why can't Shimon marry the tzara, Leah, who's the tzara of his daughter, who's not really a Yevamos to him because she did mion and bye-bye. It says in our Mishnah, Daf Beis. By the way, we're almost done with the whole Mishnah. Tomorrow, we're starting a new Mishnah. It says in our Mishnah, it says mufurish that you're permitted to marry the tzara if the mema'enes did mion and she annulled the entire marriage retroactively. You can marry, Shimon can marry the tzara. The mi'an beman. Who exactly did she do mi'an to? Let's take it step by step over here. If this little girl did mi'an to Ruvain, Haine Grusha. So she divorced him, she got rid of him. What's the difference if he gives her a 12-line piece of paper called a get, or she said hocus pocus, and or like the Arabs do, or like this one does? What's the difference? The bottom line is they're not married anymore. That's the Gemara's question. The Gemara's answer is going to be, well, there's two ways to get divorced. Either he could have given her a document called a get, or she could say 5 words to him, I don't want to be married to you, and they're also divorced. Or more than divorced, like completely annulled and they're never married to begin with. So, because that the Gemara now thinks that's a question, Ela biyavam, what happened was, she didn't do mion to Ruvain, she did mion after Ruvain died to the Yavam, to one of the 3. She has an opportunity to do it to Levi, she did it to Shimon. But it says that Shimon could still marry the tzara. So why are you telling me she can't marry the tzara? Because maybe this little girl happens to be his daughter. In a different case, we have to make Xera. No, we're talking about that she made mion to begin with her original husband Reuven. You asked me, it's a type of a get. You're right. We're talking about 2 different types of Gittel. Says the Gemara, what's the difference when you do mion in a husband? You retroactively remove the whole marriage to begin with. Now that she fell to Shimon and she says, I don't want to be married to you, what really happens? What happens is she was never married to Reuven. Forget about Shimon. She was never married to Reuven. Says Gemara, I'll tell you why. Okay, so that's the yisod that we're learning until now. Like the Mesifta guy said, when you do mion, we all know that a father-in-law can't marry his daughter-in-law. What is that called? Kala. Kalasai. That's 100% also there is the Raisa. But here's a case that you could marry your daughter-in-law. How? If your daughter-in-law was a Ktana, she was 10 years old, and she did mion to your son, so your son and this 10-year-old were never married. Halachically, there's no connection. So now the father goes and marries his ex-daughter-in-law, Miano Babal, Muter Slaviv. She's mutter to the father. Biyavam. But if, this is what we're trying to get to. But if she did the same exact thing to Shimon the Yavam, now, Asur Laviv. She cannot marry Shimon's father. Why? Because when she felt the Yibum, this Yibum looks, everybody, the whole world knows, oh, they went to Bezdin, there was a Yibum situation here, you heard, she needs Chalitza, and all of a sudden she pulled off a trick, she did Miyun. But it's too late. She fell the Yibum, people are not going to know what happened. It looks like it's his daughter-in-law. And that's why, in our case, Shimon cannot marry Leah, who happens to be the tzara of his own daughter, even though the daughter annulled the whole marriage through miyun. But it looks, because they fell to Yibum, people are going to start talking. They don't know the halacha exactly. And Mamela, she's out of here, but obviously he has to perform chalitza, Shalma Yisrael. Omer Amasi. Another case. If you're not confused yet, here we go. Tsaras, islandness, it's not confusing. These cases are really not confusing. Those who are confused are talking themselves out of it. Tsaras, islandness, asura. What's an islandness? An islandness is a woman who we find out, or we knew, we'll see, there's two types of islandness. It's the same type, but whether you knew or not is a different story. It's a woman who, unfortunately, she went to many doctors, she can't have kids. She even has a different voice, a deeper voice. She has all sorts of simanim. She can't have kids. Why is she called an islandess? Because she's like, let's see if I can find the picture. She's like this. Go on the screen. She's like an aisle. She's like a ram.
With the phones.
What? This Yoshi did for me. I called him up about 25 minutes before Shir. I said, I need this. He said, okay, I have 25 minutes, great. No, this is just the Yerushalmi lady, but this particular one can't have children. If you notice, if you look closely, first of all, her tichel is MDY. The kosher phone is much larger than the non-kosher phone. It's a whole, okay, fine. Islandess, you're going to remember Zu Nidava. Yeah. She has two phones. Well, you just noticed now that she has two phones. Everybody has two phones, but usually they tuck it in deep into the tickle, and the other one comes out. Hello, you know how many? I was in yeshivas, and the guys come over to me and they go, "We have a problem. How are we going to watch a shir? We don't have kosher phones. We only have kosher phones." I was like, "Could you stop with it? I know that you have a second phone." Oh, you're right. And they walk away. Most of the guys. He's like, so why are you coming over to me? Stop to pretend you don't have a phone. So my roommate, you're right. My roommate has one. And this one has one. Okay. The two phone thing is Davydov. I also hide a kosher phone at home. I walk around with my iPhone the whole day. Omer Avasi. Tsaras Island is Asura. Now, okay, so let's see if we can find the case. Oy vey. It doesn't matter. Okay. The point is, so you have an islandess. A guy's married to two women, and he dies. And one of the women can't have children. So the Yavam is not marrying any one of them. Why? We darish in the pasuk a little differently than the pasuk pshat, but it seems like that. What's going on over there, Rabbi Isai? You guys know I could hear everything, right? Shh, it has to be quiet. Whoever wants to sit up there, quiet. Shkoya. So, it has to, when you do Yibum, obviously, the whole point of Yibum is to lahakam shem la'achiv, to have some sort of remembrance. If she can't give birth, she can't give birth. She's worthless for this point, for this problem. So Mela, she's awesome. Prat la'ilin hasheni yuledes. Very good. Says Ravasi, and if you remember, this is part of Daf Gimel Amud Beis when the Gemara asks the question. Why does the Mishnah have to tell us a number? We know how to count very well. The number 15 is to tell us not 16, not this islandess. Okay, but Ravasi holds that an islandess creates a tzara. If one of the two women is a woman who cannot give birth, so what's the difference if it's your daughter or if it's your mother-in-law? If it's a woman who can't give birth, you can't do Yibum with her because the whole point of Yibum is to have children. So you can't do Yibum with her. So if you can't do Yibum with her, she's usher on you. She's like an Eishesach. She remains an Eishesach. If she remains an Eishesach, her co-wife, the tsar, is also also to you. That's Ravasi. We don't pass him like that. Here we go. We have a case of the three Baldwin brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, married not to sisters, three different women, not unrelated women. Reuven dies, goes Shimon, and he does something called mimer. What's mimer? If Reuven dies, Shimon and Levi could both be miyabim his wife. What are we going to call her? This is the Sephardi lady. The who? No, she's not a Batayan lady. Batayan lady is you'll see, when you see Batayan lady, you know right away Batayan lady. No, this is, whatever, for some reason he thought that the Sephardi ladies wear jean jackets, and I got yelled at by Sephardim. No, our wives don't wear that. Okay, fine. She's more of a cooler one. Fine. So, Shimon is interested in marrying her. So what does he do? Actually, Chachamim are masakin that midaraisa, all you do is miyabim. It's a little interesting. Stam bia like that. Let's do it like a normal way. So he gives her a ring, harad mikudashesli, but that's only the rabbanan. So now Shimon and this Sephardi lady have a connection because he gave her kiddushin, but it's only the rabbanan connection because if Levi decides he wants to marry, he can marry her also. She's skuka, she's bond to both of them. Fine. So big mistake. He decided to be kasher. What happened to him? Bye-bye. He's also bye-bye. So now what happens? Now they all fall to Levi. Who falls to Levi? Everybody. Sephardi lady and this Fruman lady over here. By the way, Avi, this lady lives in your building. I based her on a lady from your building. I see her every morning with the siddur. She walks down the street, bumping into poles, all sorts of stuff. I'm not kidding you. Does she not live in your building? Avi says, yeah. Okay. I took a picture of her with her gym shoes. Look at that. Mint pink gym shoes. Unbelievable stuff. And the length of the skirt, I don't know if you know anything about it. This is like nishtahi, nishtaher. It's like mamish, but it's okay. This lady went to Yeshiva Flatbush. She came to the Ramat Shem. She firmed out big time. So, you know her. I know. It's not real. It's not based on anybody. That's why I said you know her. Fine. So, anyway, these two women fall to Levi, but not so fast, says the Gemara. Why? Since Shimon did mimer to the Sephardi lady, so now the Sephardi lady comes to Levi, the Dr. Levi over there, who left us a second ago. She comes to him twice. Once because she needs to be misyab because Reuven died without children, but a second time because she has some sort of connection to Shimon. Shimon did a Kiddushin de Rabbanan, a mimer. Now we know what mimer is, Rabbi Isai. We walk home today like, whoo, islanders, grusha, machz grusha, mimer, mion, tzaras, okay, fine. There's no yibum over here. Shenemar umeis echod mehem. Now, obviously, this pasuk is in a smachta ba'alma because the whole idea of maimer is only the rabbanon. We're bringing in a smachta. It says umeis echod mehem. One brother died. Yevamos yavayoleh. Mishaleh zikas yavam echod. She's bound to the yavam to Levi from one brother. V'lei zikas shnei yavam. Over here in this case, she comes from two angles. That's not a good Yevama. Yevama has to come from one angle only, from Reuven or from Shimon, but over here it's from Reuven and Shimon to Levi. No good. If you think about it for a second, it's beautiful. Mamish Givaldik. When does this woman become Asr to Levi? She only comes Asr to Levi when Shimon dies. Before Shimon dies, Levi could be Miyabimer. It's a little bit of a problem now because he did Maimer, but B'deraisa, the Sephardi lady is connected to Levi just as much as she's connected to Shimon. So we have a situation where the death The bye-bye of Shimon causes a problem. Guess what? Islandness is the same exact thing. Give me another case where death creates an issue. Where does death create an issue? Islandness. Reuven is married to an islandness. He knew about it. He didn't know about it. What's the difference? He wanted to marry this lady. She can't have kids, could have kids. People get married to 60-year-olds who can't have kids. You're allowed to marry somebody that doesn't have kids. So there's no issue in that marriage. It's a great marriage. It became an issue when the husband died without children. And she falls to the Yavam and we say, hey, stop. You can't marry the Yavam. So the issue only happened after death. So when I tell you, I give you a case, this case over here with the three brothers, and one did Maimer, and then I say at the end, I say, Zuhi tzaras eshes ach me'av. This is the only case. So I'm trying to exclude something very similar. What's the only similar case to this case? Islandness case, our case that we're discussing. He's trying to say something here, right? This is it. This is the only one. I don't know of another case just like this, that the death of a brother creates an isser. And over here, the death of Shimon created an isser on the Sephardi lady. Levi can't be miyabim her. No chalitza, nothing. I'm saying not no chalitza, no yibo. So the Gemara asked the obvious question. We explained it already. Zui limuti mai. What does it mean? This is the only case, but not another case. I'm just explaining beautifully. Why is the islandness similar to this? Because the islandness is also a case. Let's say we're talking about a daughter. Is a daughter becomes usher to her father when her husband, the uncle, died? No way. She was always usher to the husband. Is a mother-in-law becomes usher to the yavam when her husband dies? No. She was always usher. But an islandness only becomes usher when the brother dies. So Mela, that's why I'm saying this case of three brothers is the only case that it's usher, but not islandness. So over here you see that an islandness doesn't create an isser. L'chayra. Loi. This is not a good raya. It's coming to say the exact opposite of what you thought. Limudi tzaras islandness, da'asira. Not only is this case on the screen of three brothers, Levi's usher to the Sephardi lady, but even islandness, Shimon would be usher to the tzaras and everything. But what do you mean? That's not an exclusion. That's a ribui. We're saying only. Oh, but it is an exclusion. The Gemara explains. It is a miyut, not a ribui. Yeah? If I tell you only this case of three brothers, and then I say a second later, yeah, but there's another case called islandness also that she makes it also for everybody. So it's not only, it's also. The Gemara says no, it's only. Why? The Gemara says my zuhi, the isu nefila goran tzarasa baya chalitza islandness. Afilu chalitza loy baya. Islandness is different. This is the only case in the world of three brothers and one did maimer that you have to perform. Levi has to perform chalitza. But when it comes to an islandness, there's no chalitza at all. She's a real erva. Why is maimer not a real erva? Because it's only the Rabbanan. The whole kiddushin that Shimon did with her is only the Rabbanan concept that you could be mekadosh Yevamos. You can't be mekadosh Yevamos midaraisa. So Mela, Levi has to do chalitza. But when it comes to islandness, that's a daraisa problem, like we brought a process before. That she has to be able to have children, asher teled, and she can't have children. So Mela, even her tzara doesn't have chalitza. Nobody has chalitza. My time the Gemara explains how the Raisa or the Rabbanon. Islandness is the Raisa, three brothers is the Rabbanon, so therefore it requires a chalitza. You can't pater somebody from chalitza, let her get married to anybody without performing a chalitza. That's impossible. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, it says in our Mishnah, if a woman was found to be an islandess, what does it say? So it say mutaris. What does that mean? That the brother is permitted to marry the tzara. The exact opposite of what Ravasi just said. Ravasi said that an islandess is so strong, her isser to marry the yom is so strong, it goes also to the tzara, to her co-wife, and in Mefurish in our Mishnah, Daf Beis, it says that you could marry the co-wife. Says Gemara like Ashio, unbelievable teretz. There's a big, big difference. If a person doesn't know that his wife can't have children, he marries her, and 25 years later he finds out it's impossible for her to have children, what is that called? Mekachtos. It's a mistake. He would have never married her, and therefore what? The whole marriage is annulled. It's batal mafreya. And Memela what? Hold on. And if it's batal, what about her tzara? Mutter. Because the tzara doesn't have a tzara. There are no two wives. There's only one legitimate wife that could have children. The other wife doesn't count. But if, when they went into Shidduchim, they said, listen, this girl, unfortunately, we know for a fact, she was born without a uterus, whatever. She can't have children. And he says, I want to marry anyway. So it's not a mekachtos. And he dies, so now she cannot be a Yevama. She can't be a Yevama, why? Because she can't have children. But it's a legitimate marriage. And if it's a legitimate marriage, she patters the co-wife. She patters the tzara. It's an amazing difference. If he knew about her situation, then she's a good wife, and the tzara is a real tzara, and the tzara is pater. You cannot be miyabim. But our Mishnah, in our Mishnah, he never knew that she's an islandess. And since he didn't know she's an islandess, and he found out later, they found out after he's dead, they found out that she's an islandess, so the Kiddushin wasn't chal. If it wasn't chal, then her tzara, co-wife, is not a tzara. And you should be miyabim the tzara. Daikanami, it says first in the Mishnah, we found out. That's the lashon in the Mishnah. It should have said she is. It didn't say she is. We just found out today. Shma mino. Givaldik. We're turning to Daf Yud Beis, Amud Beis. Oh, I should take out my sheet here. There's a new sponsor. Sponsored by Moshe Horn, in honor of Shmuley Sugar, the original sugar shaker, and sponsored in honor of Ed Kinsbursky, Brian Kinsbursky, and Ari Miller for learning the Daf. Yishkoyach. Omar Rava. Comes Rava and says, Hilchasa Tsaras Islandus Muteris. Everything we just learned about Ravasi, ignore. Says Rava, we don't paskin like him. Vafilu hikirbo. Even if he married her knowing that she's an islandess, so the Kiddushin is not batal, she remains his wife, and he dies, and both of them fall yibum. The Yevamos is allowed to marry and allowed to be miyabim her tzara. Vafilu tzaras bitoy islandess. And even, if you want to go back here, if we can find it somewhere here, if his daughter is not a memenes, but she's a islandess in this case, so the tzara is also mutter. And we don't say, oh, we should be choishish and she fell yibum and it looks bad, it looks like he's marrying the tzar of his daughter. No, she's an islandess and she is mutter to be miyabim the tzar. But what about your amazing diuk in the Mishnah? It says it was found out to be that she's an islandess, mashma, that he didn't know. Tanei shahayu. We have to learn it. Not that we're going to change the wording or anything, but what it means is that even in a situation where he knew that she's an islandess. Ki also Rav and Omer Rabbi Yochanan. Achas tzaras memenes. Whether it's the tsar of the memenes like I showed in the picture a second ago. Where? Here. The tsar of the memenes we had also. V'achas tzaras islandess. V'achas tzaras machzik yushasai. Where was that? Over here. The tsar of a machzik yushasai. Reuven was married to a woman, then somebody else married her, and then he took her illegally, and there was a co-wife. Kulan mutarais. All the tzarais are mutter. We had a whole shayla on Amud Beis, and we started today's shir. Is it tzaras machzik yushasi mutter also the whole thing? He's saying it's mutter. Tani Rabbi Vikamei the Rav Nachman. Shalosh noshim shamshos b'moich. There are three women who, because they have a danger to their life or the life of their child, they're permitted to use something that will prevent pregnancy. So, we're talking about the isser of ashchas zera. Typically, it's also to be mashchas, but in this case, it's either mutter or you're mechuyev to. Machlokes rishonim, if it's a heter or you're chayev to save a life. The reason why it wouldn't be mechuyev to, according to some Rishonim, because it's not 100% that it's going to be such a sakana. Who are these women? Ktana, muberes, umenika. A young girl a pregnant woman and a woman who nurses. A young girl could get pregnant and that will kill her. It's dangerous to her life. So she's allowed to use a moich. Muberes shematasu barasandal. If she becomes pregnant again, and I looked it up back then, I didn't look up now, but I remember when we were learning in Nida, there is a scientific case, there are cases like that a woman could get pregnant twice, and what's going to happen is that the second pregnancy is going to crush the first pregnancy. I just have the picture here. Well, not mamish like that, but I was wondering. Says Rashi that her face won't have a shape at all. So this lady could be a sandal, theoretically. Poor lady. She's an island of sandal. Sandal. Her baby will become flat like a sandal. Yevamos. It will cause, if she gets pregnant while she's nursing, in those days there's no formula. So if she doesn't have milk, the baby could die. I just want to point out a quick halacha, just throw it out there, because I think not everybody's 100% familiar with this. To milk a cow on Shabbos is a issa d'oraisa, dash. So to remove milk from a woman on Shabbos is issa d'oraisa. So the halacha is basically that a woman cannot save milk for after Shabbos. That would be issa d'oraisa. Obviously she's allowed to nurse, but just to what? Spill it out, passel it, there's different things. Just figure it out, throw it out. Okay, so Ve'ezi ktana. What does it mean a ktana? Who are we concerned about? Now, Taisus goes into this whole thing, just so we should understand what's going on here. A person is permitted to be with a skena who can't have children. That's not a shchas zera because that's the derech. A person, somebody who's pregnant, all these things. So even a ktana can't get pregnant. It's not a problem halachically. The problem is to do something that prevents pregnancy. That's a shchas zera because that's not the derech. Says the Gemara, Shema basic tana. We're only talking about a child that's 11 to 12, because anything less than that, there's no need, because she's not going to get pregnant when she's less than 11, and it won't kill her. Chachamim say no. There's no need. We'll explain in a second. There's no need to do any prevention. HaKadosh Baruch will take care of it. Mishum shenemar shomer pesayim Hashem. Hashem takes care of things. Now, before we go any further, some people are like, what is going on here? So, the Mesilas Yesharim talks about this. Is it permitted to go skydiving? Is it permitted to go shark diving? Is it permitted to ride a motorcycle? Is it permitted to go on a commercial airline? So the neighbor is complaining that there's no parking next door and they blocked them in or something. So if somebody's parked over there and they could resolve the situation, please do so. Let's be nice to the neighbors. Consider it to the neighbors. You don't have to get up this second because everybody knows it's you, so you can get up in 10 seconds and pretend you're going to the bathroom. So the Mesilas Yesharim says that anything that's normal, I was just thinking, I don't know if this is accurate. The last time a commercial jet, an American commercial jet that was serviced by the FAA and gone by the rules of the FAA. I'm not talking about Sri Lanka and Africa. I'm talking about United States of America or Israel. The last time, Baruch Hashem, that a jet fell down, I think was 20 years ago. I think. In 2001. So to say people that are nervous when they get on a jet and this and that, it's the safest by the safest, and to go in a car to the airport is a million times, because there's an accident every 3 minutes in America, there's fatal accidents every hour, whatever. When did somebody die from a commercial? So to go on something normal like a plane in the air, not a propeller plane, a jet is the safe is the safe. But to go skydiving, if you know the statistics, they're not very good. It's like every 10,000 jumps, somebody dies. So that I probably shouldn't have done. And that's why I don't ride motorcycles that much. Because the statistics are Everybody that I know, anybody, and look it up, anybody that ever rode a motorcycle fell off his motorcycle. Every single person. I mamish don't know a single person that didn't fall off a motorcycle. So Mela, what?
Doctors call them donor bites.
Yeah, donor, organ donor, yeah. Okay, but Kitzer, so to answer your question, you don't say Shalom Hashem riding a motorcycle. You don't say Shalom Hashem jumping out of a plane. Because it's not normal. Something that's normal, crossing the street, or even driving a car, even though it's very dangerous, I would say that's Shalom Hashem. Okay, it's time to add. So basically what Chacham is saying, look, 90% of the chance they're not going to get pregnant. If they get pregnant, so we have to see, are they 100% going to die or not? So we say Shalom Hashem. The Gemara makes the cheshbon here. It says that some people, some ktanos, they could get pregnant and they could die. In other words, some of them could get pregnant and not die. So what's the problem? It's possible to come up with a case that your mother-in-law is only 11 years old, and if she's only 11 years old, from Iowa, she could do miyun. Here's the case. Here we go. There's a dentist from the Five Towns who marries an 11-year-old. You see, it says 11 by her. 11 years old. They had a child, because it says in the Gemara that it's possible to have a child and not die. So they had a child. In fact, if you go on Google, yes, 11-year-olds are having children today. Bizman hazeh. And they don't die. And then the dentist goes bye-bye. Step in these two chacham chelim, Reuven and Shimon. One decides to marry the 11-year-old, Shimon, sorry. And Reuven decides to marry the 7-day-old. The father, the genius, he marries off his 1-month-old baby. So now, Reuven and Shimon are married to the 11-year-old and the baby. Before he died, wait a minute. Before he died, he fathered a baby. When did he die? He fathered her and he went bye-bye. When did this 11-year-old get pregnant? Before, like in the beginning of the 11th year, before she even turned 12, she already had a baby. And Reuven chaps up the baby, marries her. Now you see in the line, it says chamoisoi. The 11-year-old is Reuven's mother-in-law. Yeah, understood? Mother-in-law. It's just for fun, just to get our brains going. It never happened, never will happen. So, but then what happens is Reuven dies. Shimon, no, who married? Yeah, sorry. Shimon married the mother-in-law, so Shimon died. And Shimon also happens to be married to another woman. So both the 11-year-old and Leah, all the way to the left, fall to Yibum to who? To Reuven. So now his own mother-in-law falls to Yibum to him, and she could be Mimayim. She could say, I don't want to be married to you. And then her whole Kiddushin is Nifkami Kara. And she's not even... So here's the... Why does the Mishnah on Amud Beis say that it's impossible for a mother-in-law to fall Yibum? Here, according to what you're saying, that 11-year-old can have a baby, a mother-in-law fell Yibum when she could still possibly do Miyun. What's the answer, Rabbi? What's the obvious answer? The obvious answer is if she had a baby, she can't do miyun. Then she's already a g'dayla. She's not 11 years old. She's 11 years old, but halachically speaking, that's one answer. If she had a baby, she's a g'dayla for all halachas, no? So let's see inside. It's possible to have a baby. It says in our Mishnah, it's impossible, says our Mishnah, it's impossible for them to be an islandess for sure she can't be, right? I mean she can't have children, she just had a child. But it also says the Mishnah, it's impossible for her to do miyun because she's too old to do miyun. But according to you, she's not too old, she could have a baby when she's 11. Says Gemara, Ema, Shema Tesaber Vitamos. It's 100% if she's going to get pregnant, she's 100% going to die. It's impossible. It's impossible to get pregnant before 11. They're not going to survive. But that's not true. Oy shemienu shikvar yoldu. It says mafurish that they could give birth, and as we know today, it is possible. At least you could say in the Shtana Tzvayim or whatever, but in our generation, it's unfortunately possible. Eloilam shemot esaber v'shemot tamas. You're right. She has a chance of dying. It's not 100%. Velakashiach. But you asked me a question. Here's a situation where you could have a mother-in-law that falls to a son-in-law and she could do miyun because she's under 12. So we have 3 tirutzim here. Omer Rav Safra. Banim hareim kisimanim. If she has a child, she's not 11 years old, halachically. She might physically be 11 years old, but halachically she's a g'dayla. V'stamri, banim adifim is simanim. Some say, hey, what are you talking about? Simanim. Shtei Cyrus is simanim, right? There's no bigger right that she's mature than the fact that she had a child.
Pregnant already.
What?
Already when she's pregnant.
The minute she's pregnant, correct. But over here we're talking about in a case where she had the child before she turned 12, so in order for her to do miyun, v'chulu. But certainly, yeah, she had a child, she went through the whole process, she's alive and well, she's nursing now, she's a g'dayla. L'may nafkamina, what's the difference if it's more than simanim or equal to simanim? Dafilo Rabbi Yehuda, the Omar achi yirba shachar. Rabbi Yehuda says that a girl could be mimayin all the way that she has a lot of dark. In other words, it's not just 2 Cyrus. But wait a minute. You can no longer do miyun once she gave birth. Another teretz. Ein banim beloy simanim. So we had a teretz that it's that children are siman. We have a teretz that children are more than simanim. And the Razit says no, something practical. It's impossible that she became pregnant if she didn't have simanim. She did have simanim. She had 2 Cyrus physically. Says Gemara V'niv, like, what are you talking about? If it's a physical thing, let's check. We know for a fact she didn't. She doesn't. Something. Says Gemara Chashin Hashem and Ashur. You're right. There's no way to check it because she had them and they fell off. If we're not so concerned, why would we be concerned that perhaps she had them and they fell off? According to Razvid, in other words, if she doesn't physically have simanim, it's not enough that she gave birth. Says Gemara, this woman gave birth, so this woman lost her simanim, but l'maisa she did have simanim. So we have those 3 tirutzim. Have a wonderful evening, wonderful night, wonderful week, and we should have Psurus Taivas.